Once upon a time there was a young prince who didn't seem in a hurry to elope. His father, the king, complained, "You're making me age before my time. I'd like a little kid to bring the dynasty forward. No, scratch that. I'd just like you to act your age. You only think of horses and hunting parties." The prince said, "Sure, Dad, but how do I choose? I have to spend the rest of my life with her. What if she's boring? What if she's not a good mother? What if she's stubborn?" The old king, who was very wise, raised a hand to silence the prince. "I got it, and I think we can solve that problem." Some days later, in all the kingdom, royal messengers announced that there would be a ball in honor of the young prince. The most beautiful girls in the realm nearly hurt themselves in the rush to reply. They had dresses custom made. They took dancing lessons, walked on a tightrope with piles of books on their heads to improve stance. On the evening of the ball, 3,000 girls showed up at the royal gala, and the prince, under the king's strict surveillance, had to dance with each one. He danced so much, by the time the ball was over, it was like his feet had caught fire. The following day, as he rested with his feet in a basin, the king asked whether any girl had caught his attention. "Yes," the prince said, "a few." "A few, eh? And who?" "How could I remember the names of 1,000 girls?" "1,000? Are you crazy?" the king said. "Something must be done." Some days later, the lucky 1,000th girl received an invitation to an art contest in honor of the prince. The girls didn't need to hear that twice. They stampeded in art supply shops to buy palettes, chisels, and spatulas. They made pictures, sculptures, happenings, and graffiti. On the evening of the contest, the prince, under the king's strict surveillance, had to judge every single piece. He watched so much art that when the contest was over, he felt like his eyeballs were about to burst. The following day, as he rested with tea bags on his eyelids, the king asked whether any girl had caught his attention. "Yes," the prince said, "a few." "A few, eh? And who?" "How could I remember the names of 100 girls?" "100? You will be the death of me," the king said. "Something must be done." Some days later, the lucky 100 girls received an invitation to a fox hunt in honor of the prince. The girls stormed every manege in the kingdom. They took riding lessons, rented Arab thoroughbreds and polished saddles. On the day of the hunt, the prince, under the king's strict surveillance, had to ride beside every one of them. He rode so much that when the hunt was over, he felt like he had been kicked in the butt by an ogre. The following day, as the prince rested with an ice bag on his rump, the king asked whether any girl had caught his attention. "Yes," the prince said, "a few." "How many?" asked the king, who knew the gist by now. "Well, a dozen." "Good, now we're talking sense." Some days later, the lucky 12 girls received an invitation to a contest of choirs in honor of the prince. The singing teachers never made so much money again. The girls took lessons, had their teeth streamlined, and their tonsils attuned. On the day of the concert, the prince, under the king's strict surveillance, had to listen every solo on the list. He listened so much that when the evening was over, he felt like he had been listening to a concert of power hammers. The following day, as the prince rested with cotton buds in his ears, the king asked, nay, he ordered the prince to narrow his preferences down. After much umming and emming, the prince managed to name 3 names. "But I cannot choose, father, I swear. I am so undecided." "Let me take care of this," said the king. He called the 3 girls separately. The prince walked with each one in the royal gardens, talked about childhood reminiscences and plans for the future, thanked them profusely for the pleasurable time they had had together, and gave them a chest full of coins and jewels. The first girl went to a beauty salon, got her hair done, bought several new dresses and gowns. She told the prince that she had done this to be more attractive for him because she loved him so much and wanted to be a perfect queen for him. The second girl went shopping as well, but not for herself. She hired a team of architects to beautify the royal castle. They trimmed the hedges, oiled the drawbridge, squared the battlements. The girl told the prince that she had spent all the money on the castle because she wanted the prince's home to be perfect, because she loved him so much. The third girl went to buy the best sword, shield, and warhorse of the realm, and sent them as a goodwill gift to the most powerful neighboring kingdom. She told the prince that she had done this because she wanted the prince to have fruitful alliances, because she loved him so much. Then the king, who had followed all the proceedings, summoned the prince and said, Surely now you know what to do, don't you? The prince said, "Without a doubt," and proposed to the one with the bigger breasts.